don't need to go. I feel like one of those salespeople, you know what I mean? What's going on? I'm on the streets of London to ask the public what they think of cancel culture.
Of what? Never heard of it.
Let's go. Excuse me, can I ask you a question? What do you think of cancel culture?
It's probably needed.
It's needed, why do you think?
Some people are just wrong sometimes and you can't let them go on.
It's stupid.
Stupid? Why is it stupid?
Because I think people say things in their past just out of impulse. I mean, more time it's getting brought up like 8 years into the future. And I just don't think it's a good reflection of how people really think today.
Cancel culture? I don't know.
Do you know what cancel culture is?
No.
Okay, so it's when basically someone does something that someone doesn't like, and then instead of giving them a chance, they're just out, they're finished. Do you think that's a good thing?
No, it's not a good thing. Why? Because everybody deserves a chance.
No, I'm not like that. I don't hold grudges or nothing. I forget what it was about.
So you just let them have a second chance and they can build and move on?
Yeah, what was I arguing with you about?
Well, it's not a good thing.
Why do you think it's not a good thing?
Because people grow and develop as they grow, as they grow older. So if you cancel people straight away, you don't give them room to improve.
I guess it's kind of bad, but some people deserve it.
You all agree in cancel culture? You don't, why not?
I think it goes to a certain extent where people take it too far, and then like people need to be held accountable, but then cancelling's different to like taking fault for what you did.
It's dangerous. Social media, like people make opinions so quickly and people follow it so easily. So because of that, cancel culture, if it's not accurate information that's being given to people, people can just lose a whole life, lose a whole job.
I think you should cancel culture.
I love that. Why?
Who are you to judge anyways? We all make mistakes.
Okay, so what are some of the things that you think warrants people getting cancelled?
For example, like racism, sexism, that sort of stuff. I don't think you can say that. It's not right to say that.
Okay, so tell me, why do people deserve to be cancelled?
Like, for like serious thing, like, crimes against women and things like that, yeah, you should be cancelled. But
yeah, obviously, if it's serious, then yeah, but if it's like minor things from like when they were like 13 years old, then the past sometimes is the past.
Okay, do you reckon everybody deserves a second chance?
Depends.
It depends.
It depends on like what they've done they've been cancelled for.
I mean, it depends on how bad what they've done.
So we should let people have their past and be able to build and move forward?
I think you can cancel everyone for something they've said in the past, innit?
To be honest, I think some people take a lot of joy out of just seeing someone being talked about in a negative light, which is sad, but that's just the world we live in now.
And no one should be cancelling anyone because of whatever they think is right or wrong. Just give people a chance to grow. It's a community. We learn from each other. We're not here to look down on anyone or play holier than thou. I hate cancel culture. We should cancel culture.
So Anna, you're a psychologist, and I was on the streets of London town just this week, chatting to a whole bunch of people, all different age groups, about this thing called cancel culture.
Yeah.
I wanted to, their answers were really, really interesting. Some of them like so biblical, I wanted to ask them, do you know Jesus? You know what I mean? But what is really the mental, psychological effect cancel culture has on people, I guess, who are giving it and receiving it?
I mean, cancel culture is a phenomenon that we've observed quite a lot, especially in recent months.
Yeah.
But I think people need to understand that the psychological needs that it fulfills for those people being cancelled aren't necessarily a new thing, right?
Okay.
So there's a kind of a self-defense mechanism.
It's so windy. All right. Well, we got caught in the rain, so we came back to the office, and my clothes are absolutely soaking wet.
Yep.
But here we are. I was asking you the question, cancel culture. What is the psychological effect it has on people right now?
Well, I think there's a psychological effect on both sides of this coin. So for both the people who are doing the cancelling and the people who are being cancelled, which I think is important for us to understand. First of all, when you see something that you consider wrong, and especially if you consider it to be potentially threatening to be associated with that. It's a basic human need to want to distance yourself from that. Right. And I guess that's one of the things, that's one of the psychological needs that cancel culture fulfills for the people who are canceling something or someone, is that, it's human to want to put physical distance between yourself and a threat. So that's kind of what it fulfills for people. But I think we also need to think about what people who do the cancel culture thing, what they're trying to achieve. And often there's some sort of social justice reason behind canceling someone or something, right? Now, what research shows is that what you achieve with cancel culture isn't social justice. In fact, what you achieve with cancel culture is shame. Wow. And by shaming people, you actually don't leave any space for redemption. You don't leave any space. You cancel the dialogue. There's no redemption in cancel culture. Therefore, the purpose of social justice isn't achieved.
So do you think, okay, because that's huge, right? So people will cancel people because they're not doing something or whatever. Do you think people understand the effects that they're having on people when you cancel someone?
I don't think so, not fully, actually. I think what you create is, you create public shaming. And again, research shows that shame doesn't lead to change.
And it doesn't make you feel better either.
And it doesn't make you feel better either. It really doesn't. And in fact, when you think about social justice as potentially a reason to cancel something or someone, what we know is that every human will naturally gravitate towards other people who accept you. Like, it's a human need to be accepted. So if you cancel someone because, they're saying things that are wrong and that translate the wrong moral values and stuff, and that's why they're being cancelled, actually, that's probably going to make them go even deeper in their convictions, because they will naturally go and try to find acceptance in other social groups that will reinforce their views.
People aren't helping the situation by cancelling someone.
No.
They're reinforcing it.
They could potentially be reinforcing it, because if you cancel someone, for example, for having, racist views or whatever, like, it's very likely that person, because they've been cancelled, there's no chance of dialogue that could potentially lead to change and redemption. That person is going to go even deeper in those views. They will find acceptance in a social group that will reinforce those views.
What's interesting,
which is big, right?
Is that you said these words, change and redemption. When I was out on the streets the other day, there were people on the street saying, there's got to be room for redemption, and all of that kind of stuff, which is Christ-like.
Exactly.
Yeah, novel concept, right?
Exactly.
But when we cancel people, we're leaving no room for redemption, and that's not what Jesus did.
Yeah.
And so why is it, I guess, so more important for us as Christians to make sure that we don't enter in or engage in this cancel culture?
Well, because first of all, you can never you shouldn't make judgments on people's motivations for behaving or saying things that they do. You can, you judge behaviors, it's human to do that, but actually you never know. You never know what's behind something that someone says or does, however wrong that might be. There's always stuff going on that you will never understand unless you enter into a dialogue of some form.
So that's the case. So you've just given us a practical step there to be able to take. Go, okay, enter into a dialogue. What if that person is, I guess, far removed from you? You don't have access to that person. What do you do then?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a conversation around, cancel culture and call-out culture. Are they the same thing? I guess you could say that there's public shaming in both calling out and cancelling someone, but actually they're not the same thing. Right. It's okay if you're removed socially from that person. It's okay to call something out. That's actually okay, and it's okay to try to to communicate your views about something. We're not saying that that's not that you shouldn't do that. Obviously, you have your opinions, your views, and it's very cool to be out there and communicate those however you feel the need to. Yeah. But what the most important thing to do is actually, even when you choose to call something out, the most important thing to do is to always leave space open for communication, for dialogue, for mutual understanding. Yeah. And that's very different. That's what cancel culture will never give you. It closes that completely, and therefore there is literally no chance of redemption or change. Plus, you could be causing some serious emotional and psychological and mental distress to the person being cancelled. And sadly, we've seen examples of that.
And
in
you want to
recent
call
months.
stuff out so you can get better, so we can get better.
Exactly.
Not to bring shame. And you brought that word up quite a lot. So what does shame do to people?
Shame is really self-destructive. Shame is different from guilt even. Shame is really one of the biggest poisons of the soul, I guess, is one way of putting it. But it really leaves human beings feeling like there's no chance for them. And public shaming is one of the worst things. In fact, research on empathy and mirror neurons and all this kind of stuff shows that when you feel shame leads to a deep feeling of rejection. Shame is like rejection on steroids for the brain. Yeah. And when human beings feel deeply rejected by other people, regardless of whether they know people or not, when they experience a deep rejection, you actually feel that with the same part of your brain as if you were feeling physical pain.
Wow.
It's such a strong sensation in your brain. It's like you're being shot at. It's like you're being stabbed, literally. So much so that the pain caused by social rejection can be, you can take painkillers to help you manage that pain because you're activating exactly the same brain sensors that you would in physical pain.
Wow.
So you're literally destroying someone when you shame someone. It's one of the worst things that you can do to humans.
I think it's so important for us as society to realize the consequences of our actions. And I've heard it said before where you go, well, I've got right to free speech. I can freely say my opinion. And the comeback was, well, nothing's free. Because every word you say, every opinion you have has a cost. And it may not cost you something, but it's going to cost someone else something. And is it worth it? And so I think it's so important that we understand the consequences of what we do when we publicly shame people. Yeah. That we make sure if we're calling someone out or addressing something, even the Bible says, if you've got a disagreement with your brother or sister, talk to them one-on-one.
Exactly.
Have a conversation about it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's what we've got to be able to do within our society and just make sure that the culture of the world doesn't take us over, but we bring kingdom culture to earth. Anna, thanks so much for being with us.
You're very welcome. Thank you.